this means no longer Russell Wilson as a Steeler, now a Giant. You saw this news and you felt what?
I wasn't surprised. Number one, I feel like Russell would not be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward because clearly they haven't had any dialogue. And Russell has entertained other options. Cleveland Browns, he visited the Browns. He went and visited the New York Giants. And clearly hearing the news today, I'm not overly surprised. And I think this for Brian Daboll, it kind of gives me the vibe, Joe, that he understands he's in the midst of a one-year opportunity with the Giants, and he has to get it right. And I'm not saying this move tells me they won't address the quarterback position in the first round, but it kind of gives me the assurance that they want a ready-made guy right now because he has no room to wait. You saw what happened with Drake May and Gerard Mayo last year, right? Drafted Drake May. He wasn't ready. They implemented him to the starting lineup midway through the season, and by that time, it was a wrap. So all Gerard Mayo did was draft Drake May for Mike Vrabel. And now he gets the opportunity to enjoy the fruits of their labor in drafting Drake May a year ago. So this is basically, Brian Daboll is basically saying, man, listen, we need to add more talent and more experience to the quarterback room. And now sitting in the catbird seat in the draft in the first round, they can allow the chips to fall where they may.
It's interesting because I see what you're saying and I understand where you're coming from here, but I thought that was what was accomplished with the Jameis Winston signing was to have a veteran quarterback come in who's not going to be the long-term answer but can maybe make you serviceable this season. Now it's Jameis, it's Russ, and maybe it's a young quarterback, whether it be at 3 or in a later round, that could be the future of the New York Giants. I'm not sure what any of it indicates, but you do know what the Giants are getting in Russell Wilson, having just watched him at the helm of your beloved franchise. What are the Giants getting this year in Russell Wilson?
Well, they get a guy that has the leadership qualities, right? He understands the meaning of in bringing a locker room together, and clearly they lack leadership, especially on the offensive side. And the same can be said for Jameis Winston as well, Joe. You're talking about two leaders. Jameis has been known to be a leader, not being in the starting lineup. And his teammates, they gravitate to him. So I think this is all about trying to implement and build a culture, especially on the offensive side where they have so many young players they have to rely on. And Russell can still give you serviceable quarterback play. I mean, the last 5 games for him in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform, they were not at his best. But he did show flashes of pretty efficient play throughout the season when he was healthy. So maybe Brian Daboll, who at once upon a time was kind of known to be a quarterback whisperer, and seeing how he helped develop and just the maturation process he was a part of with Josh Allen, maybe he feels like Russell, I still see something in him that he can give us more than serviceable quarterbacking. And then if not, we have a guy in Jameis Winston that has been known to jump into the starting lineup and be the ultimate babysitter for that position and starting a few games, giving you some serviceable play, and maybe handing the baton off to another player.
I'm just wondering who gives the pregame speech. I mean, you got 2 guys. Jameis? Okay.
Maybe
they could good cop, bad cop it. It's an interesting dynamic in that room already with the 3 quarterbacks currently rostered. We'll see if there's any more quarterbacks added this offseason, whether it be in draft or some other means. This does have ripple effects. The dominoes, they do fall, and maybe they fall in reverse order of what we expected. Aaron Rodgers now left with only really one logical place to go. Unless an unknown suitor comes out of the woodwork late here, it appears the Pittsburgh Steelers are that logical landing spot. Let's just play the hypothetical here. How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers leading your beloved franchise?
We've been going back and forth with this topic for the last few weeks. I feel, the unknown with Aaron Rodgers was more appealing than the known with Russell Wilson because we've seen it before. I've never seen this episode, so I'm intrigued. It's almost like waiting for a movie and you saw the trailer, but you really want to go see it because you've never seen it. This isn't a sequel. This is something we've never seen before. So you know what? I'm real interested in seeing this movie without even seeing the trailer. And that's the most attractive part with this Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh Steelers dynamic. I don't want to go back and see the sequel of Russell Wilson. I know how he looks in the uniform. I know how he looks in the stadium. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers looks like, but I'm really intrigued to see about it. And I know you talked about earlier about this maybe being his only option. No, Joe, there is another option for Aaron Rodgers. Retiring. That's an option, right? Because I agree. Any other realistic Team, no. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't think Minnesota would change their mindset and say, hey, we want you to be a part of our team because we don't want to give the keys to J.J. McCarthy. So it is Pittsburgh. But outside of Pittsburgh, maybe he's flirting with the idea of maybe retiring. So I don't know. But if Aaron Rodgers is the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback for 2025, 2025, I welcome that idea because it makes sense. And for us, we have no other option outside of Mason Rudolph.
It's a new movie. There's a Rotten Tomatoes joke to be made in there somewhere, but I'm not going to be the one to sling it.
No, not rotten, positive.
You'll be able to give the rating, I'm sure, in real time. We'll see if that does come to fruition, or like you said, if retirement is that reality. That would be Aaron Rodgers retiring on someone else's terms. It certainly feels like, and I'm not sure if that is a realistic thing to mull over. It's all things that he's mulling over currently as he makes his decision. We did get another piece of news here on Tuesday as well. Stefon Diggs joining the New England Patriots to bolster that battery of receivers for what will be sophomore quarterback Drake May. Mac, is this enough for May, or do you think that wide receiver is still a place of need for this team come playoff time? Come draft day.
Yeah, it's still a point of need for me. I love what they've done via free agency, Joe, in improving the defense, right? They went and spent a lot of money on the defensive side. But before bringing on Stefon Diggs today, the only notable pass-catching option they brought in was Mac Hollins. Now, he's more known for walking barefoot than making big-time plays for his quarterback. So I didn't feel like that was the best move when you look at some of the other names. Now, bringing in Stefon Diggs, he's coming off a season-ending injury. Clearly, they feel like the medical will be in place for him to be back at his best 100% once the season starts. And I love this because hearing Jonathan Jones talk about the contractual agreement, this is basically a 2-year deal for $26 million, seeing that he's getting 26 guaranteed. So now if you're New England Patriots, you will have him for more than 1 year based on how he performs. And I like that. Now, the concern that I have, and these are things that we've heard with Stefon Diggs basically being with other organizations in Minnesota and Buffalo. We didn't really hear this with his time in Houston. Where is the dynamic between Stefon Diggs, the personality, and Drake May? How will these two players coexist? Because even though Stefon Diggs is a little older in the tooth, he's still coming into a wide receiver room where he's looked at as almost the best option, even with him coming off a season-ending injury. So how will their atmosphere be able to matriculate with the young guys, especially the quarterback who is the starting guy in Drake May? But in all, this was an upgrade because this is clearly a position of need, and I would be okay with them still adding talent through the draft.
Yeah, it feels that way. Diggs did have a physical during his visit in New England. They must have liked what they saw. We'll see if they like what they see when the season rolls around. Brian McFadden, we appreciate you as always. All right, here's a look at Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft. It's Cam Ward at 1, it's Abdul Carter at 2, Travis Hunter, the latest name attached to the New York Football Giants following this news of Russell Wilson's signing. So it's Wilson and Winston, perhaps to lead the Giants this season. Could be Hunter, the two-way star there at number 3, with Shedeur Sanders sliding to 6, where Ryan Wilson attaches him to Vegas.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng tay và auto tượng.